Hello, Helen here. Welcome to my channel. This year I'm planning to do a few more different things with my cards. I'm planning to have a go at some different techniques that I haven't tried in the past, and I'm also going to do a little bit more experimenting with different backgrounds for my cards, so hopefully you'll enjoy those processes. Today's card is going to be a new technique for me. I've seen them from time to time. About 2 years ago they're called floating frames, and the process, you get 2 cards out of that, so I'm going to have a go at that today. I'll make the first card to start with, and then I'll show you what the bonus card is at the end. I'm going to use just my usual card base, which is 5 by 7 inches, and a card panel, and I'm going to use this Altenew layered stamp set. I just didn't want to do colouring in today, so I'm ending up doing the layering stamps, and it's called Garden Treasures, and I'm going to stamp just a whole lot of those. I did the daisy and the main flower just in 2 colours, and a whole pile because I don't know how many I'm going to use. I'm not going to show you the layered stamping because there's plenty of videos that I've done in the past that have the layering. I'm just going to get on with the actual making of the card and the technique. So I'm going to start off by arranging my flowers all over the card panel. Now I want to fill in as many gaps, but I do want a few gaps between. I don't want them really butted up against each other, so I'll lay them out until I'm happy with them. And then I'm going to use a piece of press and seal, Glad press and seal. You just get it from the supermarket. It's slightly sticky on one side, so it's really good for this method because you can lay it over a design and rub it so that it sticks to the plastic, and then I can move it and they're not going to shift around. So I'm rubbing over the flower areas. I'm not so worried about if I stick down the card panel, but I'm just trying to work out positioning for the card panel. But I am wanting to make sure the flowers stay in the position, so I'm just rubbing over the plastic to get them to stick to the flowers. It's not too sticky, it does peel off quite easily, but it's just enough to hold it in place. And at this point I thought I'd finish with my card panel, and I start peeling it off, but then when I flip it over I realise that I actually need the card panel to be able to work out where I'm going to place my rectangle die to cut out the centre part for my frame, as you'll see. So I just temporarily put it back in place while I work out where I'm going to cut the rectangle for the inside part of the frame. You can use any rectangle dies that you might have, or alternately you could just cut it out with a craft knife and a ruler, and depending on how big or how deep you want the frame, I ended up going quite deep, but you can do it whichever you like, just depending on what dies you might have. So once I've taped that onto the plastic with some washi tape, I can then take off the card panel off the back. But I also realised that I've got my flowers sticking out too far to go through my big shot, so I'm going to have to trim those back a little bit. I was going to use the pieces for another card, but I won't be able to do that because I'm going to have to cut it shorter. So I run that through my die cutting machine, and then I can carefully take the plastic with the flowers still stuck to it off, and also I can take the rectangle die off. I'm going to take the centre part off very carefully. It's got some quite small pieces with this part of it, and I'm going to just put that aside because that's going to be for my bonus card, and I'll go back to the main frame part. Now before I flip it back over, I'm going to go around and put some foam tape all the way around behind my flowers. That's going to give the floating effect. So I'm just raising everything up on foam tape, just cutting out little pieces and trying to fit them in where I can. Now I'm only going to take a little bit of the backing paper off of the foam tape. I'm just at the very top of the frame because I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to flip over and stick down, so that way I've got somewhere to hold that's not going to be sticky. But as you'll see, it isn't very easy to do this and get it in the right position, and you'll see when I finally do stick it all down that I didn't get it in the right position, and I'll show you my fix-it for that. But I'm sure the next couple of times I do it, I'm sure it'll get easier. I'll learn a few little tricks along the way. So I'll take the rest of the backing paper off, and then I can stick the rest of the frame down. And then I can carefully peel the peel and seal off the top of my flowers. And that's when I realise that I've done it really crooked. Oh dear. How am I going to fix this? Before I decide what I'm going to do about that, I'll turn the card over and trim all the excess that's hanging over the card panel, just with a pair of scissors, just to neaten all the edges up. And now you can really see how crooked the frame is onto the card panel, but I think it is savable. What I'm going to do is just use my metal ruler as a guide along the inside edge of the frame, and I'm going to trim all the way around to make my card panel just that little bit smaller, the frame a little bit smaller. And then you can see when I put it on the card panel that it's just that little bit narrow all the way around, so I've just got a little bit of a border, and I think it looks fine. So at least I didn't have to throw it away and start again. I can then go ahead and stick the panel onto my card base with my Gina K tape runner. I'm then going to stamp a sentiment in the middle using the Misti. After doing this frame, I really don't want to mess up my stamping of the sentiment, and that way I can repeat stamp if I need to. So I've got this new stamp Ranger Letterette series called Birthday, and I really like the bold script that's in that, so I'm going to use the big Birthday and then It's Your in the smaller lettering at the top. So I'm going to stamp that with Onyx black ink, and I'm going to stamp it 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's nice and black, and I'm really pleased how bold it's come out. The last thing I'm going to do is dot some sparkling clear sequins in 2 different sizes around in the gaps between the flowers and just the frame. So I'll glue those down and pick up the sequins with my jewel picker. And then that's that card finished. The second card that I made with the centre part of the frame that you cut out, I wasn't sure what I was going to do as far as design, and I ended up going with a design that Jennifer Maguire, who had a video a couple of years ago on this technique, she used the centre part and then put a frame around the outside, and that's what I've done with this one. And then I've just put a sentiment onto hot pink card and just stuck that onto the top, and that's the second card. So it's a really great technique when you get 2 cards out of one process. So I do hope you're going to give this technique a go. You can use any stamps. There's lots and lots of ideas on Pinterest for doing these. Thank you for joining me today. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Click the subscribe and the notification bell if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.